Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about the new Horizons update. I think this is one of the worst updates the game devs have ever come up with. Now, not only is this update very bad for solo players, this is also bad for the guild players. This is absolutely horrible. Now, the first thing I want to go over is the mob scaling in the group dungeons. They made it so that I mean, they made it so that the mobs in the group dungeons have 9% extra health and damage in tier 5 zones, and up to 42% extra damage and health in the tier 8 zones. And to compensate for this, there is not any extra loot for it. They did rework the loot, I'm going to be getting into that later. But what this does is make the group dungeons harder for the actual new players that are the target audience. Now, the main reason for this buff on the mobs is because people like me have been soloing group dungeons with weapons like this. They don't want that to happen. So what they did was make the dungeons harder. Now, the direct cause of this buff, this will make it nearly impossible for 4 or 5 new players who don't know anything about the game. They can't clear group dungeons unless they have a month or two of experience. They will fight a boss like Arthos, the one that constantly regenerates his health in the second phase. He will fight something like that. They'll get bullied by a mob in the group dungeons. It will be very difficult for new players to actually clear group dungeons now. And one more thing they added regarding the group dungeons is that the loot is scaled based on how many people you have in the party. So I don't know what the minimum requirement is to the scaling. So for example, let's say you only need 2 people to unlock the loot scaling and it just stays like that. Or do you need 5 people and it goes up multiplicatively. So for example, when you faction flag, you get 5% bonus loot for every zone you travel. So let's say I flagged for Sterling and I'm doing content here, I'll get 5% more loot. But if I do the content in this zone, I'll get 15% more loot because this is 3 zones away and 3 is the maximum stacking. So in the same way, is it that the group dungeons need 3 or 4 people to get the maximum loot? If so, the loot when you solo them is going to be horrendous. It's going to be bad. I don't think they're going to be worth doing after the update, but we'll have to wait and see about that. Now, the next topic after group dungeons is the mob camps that are going to be spawned in open world maps, like a map like this. Now, this is a horrible idea for so many reasons because these camps used to be exclusive for the mists. So whenever you go into the mist, you get the objectives of clearing the camps, and usually the mobs inside the camp give you less fame and rewards compared to the mobs outside. So this can actually reduce the open world's overall productivity because the camp will take up the space where normal open world mobs could have spawned, but you have to deal with the inferior version of them because it's taking up space, right? Now, the loot here could be good, we don't know, but SBI doesn't have a good track record with providing good loot for its players, so I'm just going to assume the loot's absolute trash. Like even in a black zone mist, you get a tier 8 mist, and when you get a tome chest in a tier 8 mist, you get tier 3 tomes and you get like 4 or 5 of them. Like, how is that fair for anyone? You go in there with tier 8 gear or tier 7 gear for a tier 8 mist and you get tomes. It's horrible. So I'm just going to assume the same thing is going to happen for open world mobs because why would I think differently about it? So it's just going to reduce the productivity in general of the open world mobs or open world in general because the mob camp will also prevent any resources from spawning in that area. So for example, let's see, this brown patch over here is a mob camp. Now, because there's a mob camp here, there's not going to be any iron, stone, wood, or any other resource that will be spawned in this area, which makes this a dead zone with worthless mobs, which are really contested because most people don't know any better. So that's it for the mob camps. Now, let's go to the player count indicator in black zones. This one is just ridiculous for a game like Albion. Now, You have another mechanic called the safe portals, which are all right. So let's say you want to go to black zones, you pay like 100k or 200k, use the safe portal, get teleported into a random tier 8 black zone map. So let's assume you got teleported into this zone. And what happens after you get teleported here is you see 3 hideouts here, right? Now all of the people that control this guild, if they are able to see the safe portal when it spawns in, like this thing here, they will be camping that forever. You will never be safe. And another really bad thing about the safe portal is if someone sees you come out of the safe portal, like right here, all they have to do is let you go and do not interact with you. And they just have to wait here for you to re-enter the safe portal to go back to the city or wherever you came from. So they can just camp this place and you'll be dead. Now this is a really shitty situation for safe or solo players. The same thing happened with the invisibility shrines, right? So you think you are safe, but other people are also invisible. And right after your invisibility wears off, someone else might still be invisible stalking you. You never know. So the invisibility shrine, it's mainly a good thing, but it does have some side effects. The same thing is said for the safe portals too, I guess. Because, imagine being these guys. They got a hideout in a tier 8 zone, they're controlling it, and the game decides to flood it with solo players who will contest them for their resources. It's just a lose-lose on both sides. And another thing that I did not talk about is the player count indicator or the player range indicator in each map of the black zones. So if you look at the number here, it says that there's one player in this zone, and that's fine for a blue zone. But if this thing happens in a black zone, what happens is when you see like there's 20 people in a black zone, would you be open to dismount in that zone and gather? No, you'll just move to a different zone. Now what this makes it is, so think of it in perspective of a ganker, right? So imagine you have a gank party of 10 people and you see there's 50 people in that zone. Will you try ganking in that zone? No, because there's probably a bigger party that's just going to kill you if you mess with one of them. But if you enter a zone with 10 people and you see the counter is 19 people total, you know that the worst case scenario is the other side has 9 people and we have 10 people. So they can just murder everyone and claim the zone. This just helps the gankers to be more efficient in their ganking. And the solo players or small scale players, as soon as they see a big number, they're just going to dip. So in general, this is going to make the black zone PvP scene a lot more stale and basically dead. So it's not going to be as active. This is going to reduce the PvP activity in black zones overall. Of course, these are all just speculations on my end. Could be different when the game actually comes out. But yeah, that's about all I wanted to talk about in this video. Overall, I don't like this video. I mean, overall, I don't like this patch. I was going to say the topic of this video, but whatever. So I don't usually make content like this, ranting about stuff in the game. I think I only done this one time in the past. And yeah, I don't want to do this stuff again. But this patch is absolutely horrible. And so many creators in the Albion Online creators Discord server are complaining about how bad this is and how much this is going to affect the game. I'm not going to drop any names, obviously, because of privacy reasons. But yeah, no one likes this patch. I don't think this is good for anyone. Maybe if you have a group that you go out and do group dungeons with, who are already established players, not complete new players, you guys can get more loot doing group dungeons, I guess. But other than that, this is a horrible patch all over. So yeah, that's it for the video. Now let's move to a premium code giveaway and see who wins that. Now, if anyone wants to participate in this giveaways, all you have to do is leave a comment, subscribe, and yeah, that's all there is to it. We'll pick a random comment and give you the code. Now, if you want to claim the code, contact me on the Discord server and I'll do some verification and get the code to you. Now, that's it for the video, guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Consider becoming a member if you want to support the channel. and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.